Just seemed like when I was talking, there was an echo. So I absolutely agree with you. This was actually really, really huge for me. And I have kind of a 15 grand lesson in this because when I hired my own business coach, we ended up spending the majority of our time together working on my mindset, not working on strategy, not working on, marketing, really working on my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely think it's key. And I think it's something that people don't really realize, but
Right.
those that, those that have come before us really understand what a large percentage of the game it really is. Some say it's 80%. I, from my own experience, feel like it's like 90%.
Right.
And in working with people, because as a business coach, I help, people figure out what their vision is
mm-hmm.
and get clear on that so that we can then put a strategy to that.
Right.
But if they don't have that mindset piece, we don't get very far. And so we end up having to work on that a lot.
Right. And I learned that lesson because I did something similar back in the spring. I hired a business coach, and I wasn't necessarily ready per se to kind of take on the strategies. And so I had a very similar lesson where I was very kind of disappointed, and it wasn't, I didn't have the blame. I didn't blame the coach. I blamed myself for not being ready. But I also kind of leaned on that person to kind of coach me on the mindset, and that wasn't what she did. So it was kind of like, it was a huge lesson in where am I, who am I, and what am I working on, right? So I'm putting a little thing together to like
Are you popping it into CCC?
Yeah. I'm doing this right now. I'm going to pop it in there, and I'm going to pop it in a couple other places, which is why I'm like, yeah, here but I think it's really important, because one of the things that I've learned in my path as a coach, because that was my one of the biggest lessons for me was, okay, who am I? What am I doing? Who am I? What am I doing? And whenever I've worked with someone moving forward, I learned more and more about myself and what I was doing. All right, I'm posting. So what my, I just posted it in CCC. So what my issue was is like, what's your niche? What's your niche? What's your niche? And so whenever I've talked to people, what's your niche? I've come to figure out, because I'm a lot of different things, but you can't be everything to everybody. And that's something that I knew I didn't want to be, is I knew that I didn't want to be everything to everyone. Because that just doesn't get you anywhere. But one of the things that I learned was to be very specific, and mindset kept popping up for me because that was something that I'd worked with clients on for years. But I never called myself a mindset coach because I didn't really know that there was such a thing until I got into the online world of coaching. And that's when I realized, like, oh, that's what this is about. Because this is a very interesting industry where people in the brick and mortar business world don't really have the same issues as far as self-promotion and putting themselves out there and visibility. They just go, here's my product. This is what it does. And this is why you want it. Like, these are, this is what you're going to get from it. And I think that because this is a service-based business and it relies heavily on the work of the client, that it's different. Because if they're not following through, right? Because there's a twofold. There's getting the strategies and the systems to follow through. But if they're not following through, if the client's not following through, then either you need a mindset coach or a confidence coach or empowerment coach or somebody to dig deeper into those mindset principles to say, okay, so what is this really about? Because and I was actually thinking about scoping on it earlier, and I probably still will. But I went to the doctor. But one of the things that popped up for me was that Tony Robbins quote, when the desire to change outweighs or beats the desire to stay the same, right? So that desire to change outweighs the desire to stay the same. And I think that the biggest reason that people stay the same is because of fear of rejection. When you put yourself out there, what if nothing happens? What if nobody sees me? What if they don't want this? And what I think came up for me when I was reflecting on, okay, well, when have I helped people with this before? It didn't even have anything to do with business. Like, prime example, and I will probably scope on it later. So if somebody sees this twice, oh well. But I had a client about 2 years ago, and she came to me and she's like, I really want to find a partner. And I was like, okay. And I had a lot of single women that I worked with. So that's why for a while I called myself the Love and Money Coach, because that's who I worked with. But that wasn't the real deal. The real deal was I was always a mindset coach. But anyway, so she says, I really want to find a partner. I said, okay, so what are you doing to find a partner? So she's getting on all of these websites, dating websites, putting herself out there. And she would meet these guys and she would talk to them. Hi, Zachy Bob. So she would talk to them on chat and on dating sites, and she would like Skype with them or talk with them. And then when they were like, okay, I want to meet with you, she would like totally disappear. She would like totally flake, or she'd set up the date and wouldn't show up, and she would totally freak out. And so it took a while to uncover this, because she kept saying, oh, this one's not the right one. This one's not the right one. And so after a while of when we were kind of like coaching together, not for a long time, but for a little while, I said, okay, so what is this really about? Because we've talked about these guys, about how this one isn't the right one, this one isn't the right one, this one isn't the right one. And is this about you, or is this about them? And so what we came to, what I realized was that she was afraid of being rejected. But she played the game long enough to hold her excitement, to make her feel good about herself, because her confidence was in the toilet, to make her feel good about herself, to make her feel empowered. She put herself out there just enough to let someone be interested in her. And then when they asked to pretty much seal the deal to meet her in person, she would just flake. She would just back up. She wouldn't get anything done. She would just either, I'm too busy. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so I called her on it. And I said, you're telling me you're here. You're paying me to coach you because you want a change to happen. And I'm telling you right now, this is your pattern. And at first she didn't want to accept it. She was like, no. She's like, no, they weren't the right ones. And I said, okay, then meet them anyway. And I called her on it. It pissed her off. And then the next, right.
But that's what we do.
And I'm sorry, but I have to say that the good coaches will not just call you out on it, but they push you beyond your comfort zone, because that was her comfort zone, was staying in her pajamas, chatting with people and Skyping and not going out on dates. And so I finally said, go out on a date with this guy. And she was like, I just don't know if it's time. I don't know if he's the one. I said, you don't need to know if he's the one. You just need to go out on a date and meet the guy in person. And then she started with all the fear. Well, what if he's a serial killer or something? I said, well, you don't meet them in your house. You meet them at Starbucks, right? I mean,
right.
So she did do it. It took a couple weeks of like coaxing and coaching to get her to go meet him. And he wasn't the right one, but she was like, you're right. It took her that long to say, you're right, I'm in hiding. I didn't need her to tell me I was right. I just wanted to push her outside of her comfort zone for her to prove it to herself. Because that's the other thing. You don't need to prove anything to me, right? Because I don't matter. What you need to do is prove it to yourself, right? Because you're the one who wants to make the change, right? I'm just the catalyst. I'm just the helper. And so that's what I mean by mindset doesn't have to happen in the context of entrepreneurship. But I see, because that's where our little bubbles are, that's where we see it. But we can call people out on their stuff at any time. So
yeah, exactly. And I think that I think women are especially have trouble with this because, I mean, I saw it in the corporate world too. Like I was coaching one of my management peers because she was getting put into a higher level, but they hadn't talked to her at all about a raise or anything. And this went on for weeks where she was doing the job, but still hadn't had a conversation about the pay. And that's all about, we women have trouble, really claiming our worth, no matter what setting it is, I think a lot of times.
Yeah. And I think it's because we're a lot more cerebral. I think that, it's funny because I think men have a lot more ego than women, generally speaking. But I think that women are a lot more affected by judgment. Generally speaking.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that that's something that tends to be one of those things where that's why we're affected more because, there's the saying, and I've never been a big fashionista, but, when people say, oh, well, you don't dress for your partner, you dress for your girlfriends. And I think that that's so true to some extent because there is this comparison or whatever it is about, oh, well, what is so-and-so going to wear to the party? Or what is so-and-so, and that sort of thing. And in the corporate world, there's just as much competition as anywhere else. I mean, I remember when I was, I've coached more than one single woman, but again, that just happened to be one of the things she wanted to work on. But, and there were many other things, but, when she said, I see all these, really pretty girls and, skinny girls and, how am I going to get a date? And I'm like, when you think that, you have to be like that and you have to fit into a mold before someone will like you, you're in self-doubt. So you've got to shift your mindset to say, someone who's really awesome, who I want, is going to want me too. This is what I'm looking for. This is what they're looking for. You allow yourself to bring that in. And that's where I'm like the practical meets the woo, because I love the law of attraction and woo stuff. But there's so many people that are like, oh, I have to be like that. No, I don't believe in cookie cutter. I don't like cookie cutter. I have to be like that. Thanks, Debbie. I don't have to be like that. But so many people follow that because they're like, oh, whoever's hot on, any of those, pop icons or whatever. Oh, that's what I need to look like, or that's what I need to dress like, or, plump my lips or fix my eyes or whatever. You do you. You do you.
I think what's hard about that is like for myself, I have just from my childhood background, like I have this history of hiding parts of myself throughout my life, depending on the situation, or who I am. And when I started working with the coach, that was a very expensive lesson. I said to her, I said, you know, this is the first time where I'm like, I don't have anybody that I am tied to at the moment that I'm having to play a specific role for. This is all about me right now. And I'm actually excited to to see who all of me is as I start to grow and evolve and go after what I want in terms of my business. But I'm kind of excited to see who I am. All of those parts of me come together because I'm not at a place where I'm, you know, hiding my creative side in my IT corporate job, or I'm not hiding my entrepreneurial desires from my partner because they don't get it, or, you know, whatever, like trying to bring that all together. And so I think that when somebody says, just be you, I think that can be hard sometimes for some women to sort of grasp onto. A lot of us, when we start down this journey, have not been really good we're good at taking care of other people, helping other people, solving problems for other people, but we're not really very good about digging into ourself and who we are and what we want and everything. And when somebody says, just be you, which means some of us really have to figure out who that is and have to do that work, which is why I think that the path of going down the entrepreneurial journey is one of the deepest personal development journeys that you can go down. Because
it's super profound. It's super profound. And I remember when I first started off, because I didn't start my business as a coach. I started my business as a therapist. And I remember dealing with self-worth and self-doubt issues then, where I was like, I was having really high-powered people come into my office, and I was like, oh my gosh, do I have this? Like, can I handle this? And I had to go through that own stuff. And of course, we have what we call masterminds and coaching, is like supervision and consultation groups in counseling. And I remember being like, okay. And then it was almost like the Freudian stuff would come up, like, you know, blank slate, which you don't have in coaching. You're supposed to show all of yourself in coaching. But in counseling, it's kind of like, how much of your own self-doubt is coming up, and you're trained so you can handle this. So what is that really about? It's about you, and it's not about the client. And it's like, oh, okay, awareness. And I agree with Desiree. There's no greater personal development, because that's where the mindset piece is really, really huge. Because and that's kind of what I tell some of my clients that are not entrepreneurs, is I'll say, you know, in this journey, you are accountable for your steps forward. And I do provide a lot of accountability as a coach, but you've got to be accountable to yourself and take those steps forward. And if you're not ready to take those steps forward, or if you're not ready, and we always talk about investments, like I see this everywhere, invest in yourself, invest in yourself, invest in yourself. If you're not mentally ready to invest in yourself, and I don't mean financially, I'm talking mentally, to make those changes in implementation, like doing things differently, commitment and consistency to a change in your behavior. I don't care if you're counseling, I don't care if you're coaching. If you're not committed to doing that, you can just, you know, oh, hi Amanda. You're going to get pulled. You're going to be making the investment and nothing's going to happen. And so that's why when I get on discovery calls with people, I'll say to them something to the effect of, are you ready to do the work? And I'll sometimes hear like, yeah. I'm like, no. Are you ready to do the work? Because this is not just about you pay the money and I hand you a certificate that says, you know, you are now, you know, Scooby-Doo. You are now, you know, Dee the entrepreneur, Kristin the entrepreneur. You know, wouldn't it be nice
if it was that easy?
You've got to do the work. Are you ready to do this? And sometimes it means kicking and screaming. Sometimes it means late nights, early mornings. Well, more than sometimes. But it means that you've got to push those internal boundaries, right? I had a client who was a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders are a whole other breed of mental, state, because that's their life. They eat a certain way, they work out, right. They're dedicated, devotion. Coaching is very similar in terms of, coaching is also very similar to personal training, because you've got to work with someone where they're at, continuing to move them forward. But sometimes I say it's like a tango. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And the mindset shifts are very much like going to the gym and personal training, which is why I brought up the bodybuilder guy. Because when you're working with bodybuilders, they're very much like, this much chicken, this much meat, this much protein powder, gym twice a day. Right. And they're dedicated.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody who's just like, I need to change my life. And they're like, I'm ready. And there's this idealism in their eyes. And they're sparkly and they're excited. And sometimes it's January 5th. And you're like, okay, are you ready to go the long haul? And they're like, yes.
And I think it's those rose-colored glasses, right? They only see, part of it. And one of the things that I like to really ask is, and I use this saying quite often, is, are you ready to get cozy with being uncomfortable? Because the entrepreneurial journey, there is no getting around getting in bed with being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you're just going to have to. And it's not something that you do just at the start. Every single time you up level or you're faced with something new that you haven't done before, you're having to cross that next bridge, right?
And really your competition is yourself. It's not anybody else.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I love that quote, like, look in the mirror, I'm going to butcher this, but, look in the mirror, there's your biggest competition, right? Because you're the only one that truly is holding you back, whether it's your beliefs, your worrying about what other people think, your self-doubt about your skills and your knowledge. Like, it all comes back to your mindset. And when I'm talking to somebody, at the beginning, like there's a bit of assessing, like, where are they in their mindset, because it's going to affect their clarity on where they want to go. And it's going to affect them being able, like, I can give them a strategy and we can talk tactics and everything. But if I, tell them, if we figure out what social media platform works best for that one of them, for them, and one of them happens to be a live stream, and they, they're scared to death, and it's all around their own confidence, that's not going to happen. We're going to spend weeks, trying to get there.
No, I completely agree. And that's where I think the mindset piece is so integral to individual growth, to get clarity on who they are and what is it that their goals are, right? Even before they hit the business coach, because and that if they're not comfortable with that, if they're not practiced with that, or if they are incapable of talking about results and what they can deliver on or what they want to deliver on, what they're comfortable with, right? We talk about being uncomfortable, but you also have to be comfortable that you know what you're doing, right? Because you're helping someone else and you're helping someone else get results. And so if you're not comfortable with that, then, you know, it's gonna show.
Well, it's going to show in the energetic vibe that you put out in terms of those that you're trying to attract as clients. Because you want them to know, like, and trust you, like we all know. But if they see you wavering in your confidence, or, you know, unsure when they're asking questions and everything, that doesn't really build, you know, the trust factor or anything. So you really got to get a handle on your own stuff, because what's going on inside shows up outside, you know, externally, in terms of what you're putting off and what people are seeing. And I think that what's unfortunate is we are such a instant gratification society that, you know, people that are new to wanting to start a business, you know, everybody wants the how-tos, but there's all of this other stuff that needs to come first before you dive into those how-tos, or you're going to waste time, energy, and money for coaching, for programs, for, you know, different pieces of your business and everything, when you're just not ready. And I think that they don't know that coming in, right? So it's really important that we, as ethical coaches, you know, whatever kind of coach we are, especially if we're a business coach, that we're, you know, that we're checking in on that for those that are coming to us, and not taking advantage, or at least, you know, making people aware, because your awareness of who you are, how you're showing up, what your you know, strengths and weaknesses are, is like the first step.
I completely agree. I think that, you know, checking in with them, I don't know of anybody who doesn't want results. Like, that's why people get into it. They want results. Hey, Desiree.
Hey, ladies.
Desiree, hop in.
You look so cute today.
Thank you. It's blab day in my world, so. Hey, thanks for letting me jump in. This is one of my favorite topics, so I'm excited. No,
yay!
No, I'm so on board. You know, as a marketing and strategies person, I'm, you know, I get clients who are like, yeah, teach me what to post on Facebook, and teach me about what kind of clients, you know, that I need to attract, and all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your thoughts about your business? And they're like, I just want to make money. I'm like, oh, we're going to have to back up here. We're going to have to talk about getting your brain in the right headspace and getting you geared up to think like an entrepreneur.
Service.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thinking.
Exactly. You know, they, especially because my audience is direct sellers. That's who I work with a lot. There's this very old school Avon calling, you know, knock on the door and I'm selling you vacuum cleaners. And it's all about sales, sales, sales. Well, now people are starting to realize there has to be a connection. I don't care what you're selling or you're offering. You have to understand that there's a connection that needs to happen in order to build, you know, strong clients and repeat business and all of this kind of stuff. And so the first thing that I do is I step one, mindset. You know, I don't consider myself a mindset coach at all, but let's talk about where you are with your mindset. And then we'll move forward in talking about marketing strategies and email campaigns and all of this stuff.
And I think that people in the sales world really, really get that, you know, especially if you're a sales rep or something like that. You know that those people that you're calling on are buying, you know, could buy from multiple sales rep. They're going to buy, especially if you're selling the same product, right? Or similar products. It's really that connection that they make with you.
And once people have that shift, of, it's not just about an amazing product. It's about the relationship that you're building with them.
Yeah.
Once they have that mindset shift, then things all, magically start to fall into place with your business.
Exact same thing in the entrepreneurial space, especially, with the service-based businesses, right?
Absolutely.
It's who you connect with. Because there's a lot of business coaches, there's a lot of marketing coaches, right? There's a lot of mindset coaches, but you're going to follow and sign up with the ones that,
absolutely,
that really resonate with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the other thing that comes up for me when I talk about this is the doubt and the self-trust and the self-esteem elements, because I find that women equate themselves, a lot of times their self-worth is impacted by how much money they're making. And so when we separate your self-worth from your financial income, there's a shift too. Because the two are not dependent on one another.
I think the other thing that comes into play is if we've had anything in our past that we would label as a mistake or a failure, you know what I mean? That really starts to eat away at our self-trust and builds on that self-doubt. And as entrepreneurs, we really need to shift that to a place of, it's a learning experience. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're out there trying, everything isn't going to go, 100%, 100% of the time, right? So you've got to take the lessons from those and move forward and not, add that to a link in the chain.
I think you said an important word there, Dee. It's a lesson. It's not necessarily, it's a failure. Maybe it didn't happen the way that you had hoped, but it's a lesson. And I think that's huge, that being able to pick yourself up and keep going if it felt like a failure and start looking at it as, okay, this was a lesson. It didn't go exactly the way it's planned. What can I adjust and move forward on? And I think that's huge.
And the entrepreneur, those that are out there making 7, 8 figures, they know, right? They'll tell you, fail quickly and move on, right? Get it out there, fail quickly, learn the lessons, move on to the next.
Yeah, definitely. It's being able to pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah, and not take it as it is a reflection of your self-identity.
Hey, John.
Hey, Kristin, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
What insight do you have for us today?
Insights? Well, I could say, first of all, I hope I'm not being rude, but Cheval's my first name.
Oh, Cheval, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Thanks for telling me. Some people put their last name first and their first name last. So Cheval, welcome.
Thank you. Hey, Dee. Hey, Desiree.
Hey.
I would say, I definitely have to agree, with Desiree on what she said about, using failure as a lesson, because I could add on to a post that Maria Ross of Red Size wrote about how, we might think that, if we think that we were, if we had we missed out on an opportunity to get a work that we wanted, but then didn't get it, we might think of it as a failure, and we might think that we would be in a different place. But at the same time, it's like we should use that as a time of, okay, it was meant to happen because there's something else better for us. So in a lot of ways, we have to take it as it is, as okay, it was a lesson for us to get better at where we need to go, entrepreneurial journey, and also in our mindset.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't get stuck in the, oh my gosh, I'm a failure, and I did this to myself, in my business about 1.5 years ago. I did a huge, group training launch, and The first one, it was okay, and I moved on from it. And then it was the second one that when I launched, it was like, it totally bombed. And it crushed me for a long time. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to have a successful business. This isn't for me. I better go find a job. I'm obviously, not smart enough, not, whatever enough. And I took it as it was a personal attack on my ability to train people. They must not like the information that I have. And it wasn't, several months went by where I just went into complete hiding. I only took, it was only people who contacted me was the only people that I worked with. It was, the only time I said, yes, I'm available is if someone called me and said, hey, can I hire you? I didn't put myself out there. I was, I just was like a turtle that sucked myself back into my shell and went, obviously business isn't for me. And it wasn't until I had that mindset shift of, it was just a lesson. Now I need to figure out what direction to move now. And then that's when, I had the whole realization it wasn't a failure. I'm not a failure at life. I shouldn't just go off myself now because of one bad product launch, and so I kind of had the same feeling.
We tend to put this big blanket over it.
Exactly. And I think that's the resilience factor that entrepreneurs, you either have it or you learn how to have it. And I think that's huge, And I think you do have to fail at least once to learn where your resilience level lies. You can't just come out of the gate and have, extreme success one after another. And then when something goes wrong, you can't say that's it, I'm closing up shop, so.
Yeah.
I also think it helps your clients relate to you too, right? Like, they want to know that you're not perfect because that's really hard to try to relate to or to,
And in fact, I had just posted in my Facebook group the other day, I said something about how I missed a deadline. I was talking about calendars and scheduling, and here I've got all my clients who are like, your schedule is perfect and you keep everything on time. And I posted in there, oh crap, I missed a deadline. And somebody actually messaged me and said, thank you so much. I don't feel like such a jerk that I missed a deadline because Desiree Wolf missed a deadline too. And here she's talking about productivity and strategies in your business. So it adds to that human side, and they can relate to you. And I think it adds to your experience because now people can see, you did fail at something and you learned from it. So I want to learn from her because she made mistakes too and knows what I'm talking about and knows what I'm going through.
Right.
Can I add on to that? There? Because I was share my failures too. Like this, I'll say like this year alone, I was like hoping to have a breakout year. I didn't quite have the breakout year that I wanted. But I made progress in my business, and also and I'll share like earlier this year when I had an opportunity to be a freelance writer for a newspaper in the Houston area. Like I had 2 assignments, and both of them was in covering high school football. I turned into those papers late because of no Wi-Fi. And because of that, I have, they kind of like cut me off. But in a sense, I kind of felt like, crap, I felt at that. But at the same time, it was also meant that it was meant for me to be, writing for the paper because I know that there was something out there that was better for me, to be in order to to take my business to the next level and also find, other clients, better clients in a sense.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes you have to go through that journey of trying something out and having it not work to realize what it is you need to be doing that is going to work out better. You're absolutely right, Cheval.
It's like a redirection.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it's like how I don't remember which post it was, but someone put an infographic, I believe, of what many people think an entrepreneur is. It's like going in a straight line, but many don't understand that it's zigzagging along the way to get to your destination as in your entrepreneurial journey. So that's kind of like a misperception of what people think of entrepreneur because they haven't decided to take that journey for themselves.
I think it's kind of like a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of going up, and then you take a dip, and your stomach kind of falls out.
That's when you feel like you're going to throw up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so I have a question for you, ladies. What have you done to to get to that place of having that mindset to believe that you can achieve anything for the better?
Yeah,
Daily
just like taking a shower. It's something you have to work on every day.
Isn't that something Zig Ziglar said?
Yeah.
Motivation is a habit. Because if you something like you shower daily, I forget it, but it's something like that.
It's something like just like taking a shower every day. You have to motivate yourself for something like that. But yeah, absolutely, it needs to be part of your daily routine.
Believe.
Yeah, because it doesn't last. You know what I mean? And so it's neither does a shower.
Yeah.
You got to do it every day. And I think that it's really important. Like, I'm not much of a morning person, I'll be honest with you, but doing my mindset work in the morning really sets the tone for the rest of the day. And especially with being an online entrepreneur, because you get into these groups, you start seeing all these different things, you know what I mean? Anything can kind of trigger you if you're not aware, if you're not setting yourself up on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to keep that vibration high.
Totally. I agree.
Oh, wow.
I agree. Just, start your day with it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a practice too.
Yeah. So.
And yes, Debbie, go ahead. I do a lot of different stuff. Like, I do meditation, Reiki. I have like a small to-do list. Oh, who popped off?
Oh, I think we lost D.
Visualizations, meditations. And I also have I'm trying to remember all the different things. Like, I do gratitude as well. Like, what am I thankful for already? Because it's connecting with where you want to go. And so it's also that system of belief. If you do not have a belief that you're going to get there, you're not going to try very hard. So it's the foundation of, here's where I am, here's where I want to go. What's the next step to getting there? And then, taking those steps, but the mindset piece of staying in your own lane, worrying about what you're doing, not really worrying about what everybody else is doing or what anybody else's journey is. Kind of, not being totally myopic and closed off, but if you're focused on what everybody else is doing, then you're up in everybody else's drama. And so you've got to kind of section yourself off. And so the mindset piece that I typically recommend is, I love meditation because it helps me get aligned with, and I know it's a little more woo-woo, but that's who I am, with with that inner voice, right? So that inner journaling, the inner voice, and then the Reiki for healing, because that's something that helps me to go to another level. But I know tons of people who have different mindset pieces, that they do, whether it's visualizations or the superhero stance, right before they have a call. D, come back in, the seat's open. Where they stand up straight, and everybody has different rituals or practices that they do. And I think that practicing different things to see what works for you is what's going to get you in that momentum of doing something every day. Something. It doesn't have to be everything, because if you start off with everything's not going to last long because it's too overwhelming. You got to start with one thing and then build yourself from there. Exercise is also huge because it gets you out of your head.
Yeah. I tried probably everything at one time one week. I was like, well, that didn't work yesterday. I'm going to try something else today. And it became overwhelming, and I ended up doing nothing. And then that's when I started to feel really crappy. I personally have a hard time meditating. I have a hard time sitting still for long periods of time. I mean, I don't even sit still at my desk. I sit on an exercise ball just so I can keep moving around. And then, I'm working with a confidence coach, and she said, okay, when you have a hard time meditating and being still, just sit and enjoy the moment. Don't think you need to be meditating. Don't try and think about sunsets or the sunrise and all of this kind of stuff. She said, hold your cup of coffee or your tea in the morning and just feel the warmth of the coffee and just think about where you're sitting right now.
That sounds like a mindfulness meditation.
Oh my gosh. It was, I'm not a big woo-woo person, and I now look forward to it every day. I give myself 5 minutes, and I even set a timer because 5 minutes is like an eternity to me.
Doable.
To sit still. Yeah. Well, and now it's to the point that once my timer goes off, if I have a few extra minutes before I actually need to get up and start doing something, I will find something to do for another, 5 to 10 minutes. The other thing that I really enjoy doing is I like to tap. I'm really into tapping and EFT.
Tapping.
Yeah.
EFT.
So yeah.
EFT.
Yeah. So but I can't, it's got to be practical sounding. Again, I'm not a big woo-woo person. So I spend my 5 minutes with my hot cup of coffee. I don't check Facebook. I don't check emails. I just sit and enjoy the cup of coffee. I think about the way it tastes. I think about, before the kids get up, I'm just enjoying 5 minutes to myself. And then if I have a few extra minutes, I head over to YouTube, jump on a Brad Yates tapping video about, what maybe I struggled with the day before. And then when the video's done, I'm done. And so that's how I start almost every day. And I can tell a huge difference in my mindset if I don't start my day that way. And then I end the day writing in my gratitude journal. I do 3 things in my gratitude journal. I write 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for that happened throughout the day or people that I talk to. And then I write a letter to the universe. And, it's my dear universe, this is what I need you to bring me. This is what I'm focusing on. And then I write what my personal mantra is. I write it 5 to 10 times. So each page has.
I love things. That.
Yeah. And it's something that's worked really well for me because I'm ending with my personal mantra and a way that I can feel positive, and then I go to bed. So I don't watch the news. I don't watch, I don't watch things that are going to upset me right before I go to bed. Get a good night's sleep. And you don't need to be, I know, Kristin, you're big woo-woo, and for the people that aren't, there are ways that you can practice your mindset without feeling like you need to have, salt candles and all the this kind of woo-woo-y stuff happening,
Here's my candle.
Yes.
That's me.
Yeah.
I can't hear you. I think John is trying to talk. I can't hear him.
Oh, yep, we lost you.
We can't hear you, John. Cheval. I don't know why I keep calling him John. I know his name is Cheval. He told me that. But I just said that because, I had 2 guys that came on the last time I blabbed, and they had switched their last name to their first name.
All right. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Well, I can add on to that there with, like this week, like 2 weeks ago, I just now started being a part of a coaching program with a great lady. I don't use you ladies should follow her. Her name's Samara McClary, and basically, like this week, she had mentioned to if you had dreams, to write it down in a journal, and that's what I've done in the last 2 days, and the last 2 days I had 2 dreams, and I wrote it down and I shared it among the group, and it really helped me to understand. It took me to another level of knowing what's.
We lost you, Cheval. We can't hear you. Can you guys hear him? Okay.
What's going on right now?
I will say that in terms of meditation, I didn't used to doing I couldn't do it. My mind, was just going and going and going. And I started to do Oprah and Deepak's 21-day meditations. And what I really liked about those meditations, and I've kind of taken it to using it just, for others, is having something to chant, he gives you a little thing to chant when your mind starts to go off to kind of bring you back. And so in the morning when I do, because I do a meditation, I will use a chant if I'm getting sidetracked. If I'm not staying present, with myself, I will start to chant something. Whether it happens to be one of those, or maybe I'll chant my mantra for the day, or whatever.
Right.
When I'm meditating.
Okay. And am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm basically like, it's allowed me to shift my mind to where I need to go in my, in my business, for the better. So it's like I'm doing those things, and I'm also now like, in the process of, meditating as well, and writing gratitude journals. I've been, it's like off and on in meditating and writing gratitude journals, but I'm now going to like be consistent in meditating and writing gratitude journals, so to remind me of like the things I have right now. And I will mention, like, today at my work, working at a coffee shop while building my business for better, I made $16.
That's awesome.
So that's it. Yeah. So I'm happy about that.
That's awesome.
And having that daily practice, whether it's morning or night or both, because I do a gratitude journal at night as well, and doing it consistently will be reflected in the work that you're doing with your business as well, in terms of taking that discipline and that consistency to other activities.
Yeah.
The thing that I tell my clients a lot of times are very cliche, but it's to say this, to make it to the point. Rome wasn't built in a day. This is a marathon. Oh, yeah. This is not a sprint, right? This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And if you want to sprint, I'm not the coach for you.
Yeah.
Because your mindset is not going to change overnight. We've got to take these baby steps to personal growth to shift your mindset. You will get a mindset shift. You'll gnaw on it, chew on it, kind of like a piece of beef jerky or something. Like, and you can see shifts in the first couple days. You can see shifts in the first week. But you've also got to dig into that process and gain that momentum to continue to see the shift. So commitment and consistency are huge for mindset, because if you believe I suck, and you look for everything to prove yourself true, you will find that. But if you're able to shift and say, okay, I did this one thing, this one baby step today to take me to the next level, you'll start to prove yourself right in that regard. Like, hey, somebody liked my post. Hey, somebody shared my blog. Hey, somebody read my article. Whatever it is, somebody heard me talk. Somebody got something of value out of whatever it was that you shared or did, or, that one message that someone wrote you that said, thank you, Desiree. Right? Yeah. So these little pieces let you know that you're making a difference. And so the little voice that at one point said, whatever it was, I suck, or I'm not good enough, or whatever, that diminishes because the confidence increases. But you also have to make sure that your confidence is not connected to, again, your job. You got to have confidence in who you are as a person, because if you have one bad day, ooh.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you guys hear, did you guys listen to any of the Todd Herman stuff that's been all over the place the last week?
No, I definitely will listen to it now.
So one of the things that he talks about, and it was such a great way to visualize this, was that he has this whole concept of the ow and the wow brain, and without getting into that, but he talked about the fact that the owl brain will tend to, look at where they are and get all negative about how far they still have yet to go to get to where they want to go. And they end up in this, he calls it the criticism chasm, or the chasm of criticism. And he said where the wow brain is they look at where they are and what they've done, and they celebrate, the little steps that they've made to get to where they're going. They look for the wins and they celebrate even the smallest little things that move them forward. And that's what they focus on versus where they're not.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You can get all caught up in the wrong stuff if you're not careful. And I think that, there's this thing. I used to think everybody needs a coach. Everybody has to have a coach. And I think that at different points you need a coach, because at different points you need to have somebody push you and help you to process that stuff. But there's some times where you don't necessarily need them. You may need a mastermind, or you may need a peer support group or something like that to help bounce off some of these ideas to keep you going. But I think that sometimes you just need that accountability to check in with, am I okay? Am I going crazy? Right, Desiree? Like, I'm experiencing these things. And it's not that you necessarily need to be coached. It's just that you need the support mechanism to continue that momentum of this is where I am. But I think for those who need coaching, it's where they're really struggling with getting outside of their, what I call the shell, right? So whether it's, and I'm not talking just introverts or extroverts, I'm talking like actually taking those steps, because fear, self-doubt, and all of the little gremlins and critters keep them held back from where they want to be.
Ultimately, it comes down to, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and people don't know that you're out there, you don't have a business.
So that's awesome.
That's kind of the bottom line. So if you're not going to work on getting yourself past all of those things and being aware of what is stopping you, when you're having those thoughts, when you said you were going to do something and you didn't do it and you procrastinate, like that's having the awareness about your own state, what you're doing, right? Push through that uncomfortableness if you run a business.
And
you don't know you don't have a business.
Oh yeah, and also to add on to that, also like your mindset shift, you always got to surround yourself with the correct people who's going to lift you up too. You cannot surround yourself with people, and I'm well to say including family members who don't believe in your dreams too.
You got it.
Yes. Because they even though they're well meaning, that and tell and say and try to like want you to for you to be happy, they will not understand your goals or visions, and at times you might have to stay away from them for the time being while you build your business. And then once they see the results of your business, then you can be around them. But people outside of that who are not your family members, who always going to put you down every time, you got to just stay away from them. Totally stay away from them, and and always surround yourself every day with people who's going to lift you up for the better too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I have to go, guys. I hear my husband and my son coming in.
Okay.
Yep, I'm off to go pick up the littles.
I know. This has been great, guys. We should do this again. Cheval, I followed you, and so we'll follow each other, and we'll have to do this again soon. So thank you for putting up with me and for waiting for me after I got home. So.
No problem.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Cheval. Bye, Dee. Mwah. See ya. Take care.
Bye, Dee. Bye, Kristin. Thanks, Desiree.
Thank
everyone.
you.